Hello and welcome to our webinar discussing the benefits of e-filing your accounts to Companies House and how to e-file using accounts production. Before we start the presentation, there are some admin points that I would like to make you aware of. We are recording this webinar and we will circulate a link following the presentation. The audio throughout is one way, so we won't be able to hear any comments or questions. But please feel free to post questions in the Q&A section and we will do our best to answer them as we go through. If you experience any issues with the presentation, either visual or audio, please use the chat feature to communicate with the host who will be able to assist you. Okay, now let me introduce myself. My name is Alex John. I'm part of the product management team and look after our accounts production software. I'm joined today by two members of the Companies House team, Ryan Gordon and Neil Butler, both of whom have a wealth of experience around financial statements and are heavily involved with digital implementation, encouraging presenters and companies to submit accounts electronically rather than by paper. With nearly 4 million companies and a further 60,000 plus limited liability partnerships in the UK preparing and filing financial statements for submission to Companies House every year, the benefits of filing these documents electronically far outweigh any reason for posting them on paper. 99% of confirmation statements are submitted electronically, since it is £27 less than filing on paper. However, with no direct financial incentive, electronically submitted accounts are lagging behind at only 75%. We take a look at why you should be considering filing accounts electronically. Back in March, I wrote a blog and came up with the following benefits of filing online. There may be more, so this isn't an exclusive list. Security. Submitting accounts via the Companies House gateway is very secure, and the documents are near impossible to fall into the wrong hands. Paper accounts are handled manually, allowing for them to be misplaced, damaged or destroyed, or even worse, tampered with, some not even making it to the final destination. It's faster, meaning less penalties. Once submitted electronically, the documents go through the automatic systems at Companies House, meaning any obvious mistakes are spotted quickly and the accounts are rejected, allowing corrections to be made before resubmitting. This can all happen on the same day. And for the year 2016-17, Companies House issued nearly £92 million in late filing penalties for financial statements that did not arrive on time. You receive an acknowledgement and confirmation of the acceptance. Instead of waiting for the document to go through the postal system and then the postal room at Companies House before a paper acknowledgement is sent back, accounts can be submitted and accepted all on the same day, and this is stored within the software for future reference. The rejection rates for online filing are lower than paper due to the checks performed as you press the submit button. Accounts filed electronically are much less likely to be rejected than paper accounts. For the year 2016-17, the rejection rate for paper filing was nearly 7%, compared to just over 2% for electronically submitted accounts. Covering letters are not required. Simply submit the accounts from your final accounts preparation software. And you save money. By not having to pay postage costs, there's no paper or ink, and along with there's no need to have a stash of envelopes available. And lastly, I think there's no more walks in the cold and wet to the post box. Obviously, we've got lovely sunny weather now, but back in February, March time, we had quite a bit of snow. So there's no reason not to file accounts electronically, unless, of course, you're trying to get your 10,000 steps a day, and going to the post box contributes to that. Neil and Ryan will also cover the benefits as Companies House see them, so you may see some duplication. Here at Iris, we've been very keen to allow our users the ability to file accounts electronically to Companies House, introducing the feature many years ago, enhancing with further types of accounts as and when allowed by Companies House. Nearly all types of limited company, including groups and of course LLP financial statements, can be filed electronically using accounts production, with charity accounts recently introduced in the spring release. The list on the screen shows the large variety of reports that can be submitted electronically, with accounts following FRS 102, 102.1a, 101, 105 and IFRS all being possible. It's worth noting that almost all entities that can file electronically, with very few exceptions now. Companies House are working to close any gaps and to get to a point where nearly all, if not 100% of accounts can be submitted electronically. When we first introduced the ability to electronically file accounts, a number of people said at the time they would continue filing by paper until such time as all accounts could be submitted electronically. Now we are getting to a stage that nearly all accounts can be submitted electronically. In addition, all companies have to produce IXBRL for HMRC, so it seems sensible to also build submitting to Companies House as part of the same process and workflow. I've already mentioned it, but you can now file incorporated charity accounts electronically to Companies House through accounts production. This will initially cover charities that are either unaudited or audited under the Companies Act 2006, with other types like academies to follow soon. When using software, you get to choose the layout and presentation of the accounts. This is important as the document will be on the public record and may include your details as the accountant. If you're using the Webfiling system through Companies House, this offers more of a template-style report where the details must be re-entered. And this leads me on to the flexibility to alter the headings and include disclosure as required, which the templates do not allow. Within accounts production, you are typically producing the accounts already for the shareholders and for HMRC, so this is simply an extra click to submit to Companies House. Of course, with IRIS, the data entered goes through to tax. If re-entering the figures into the web filing system, there's of course the chance of errors. And if you're using practice management, preparing and submitting to Companies House becomes part of your workflow. And in a practice, you can see at what stage the accounts are and who is responsible for the submission. If you're preparing and submitting for a number of companies at a time, the responses can be tracked, so you are not having to log on to each and every business separately to view the responses. All responses are stored within the system, so you can check all accounts submitted for all your clients, that they've been accepted, and spot if there's any rejections. So to file direct to Companies House, you'll need a presenter account. If filing Companies House forms, you'll need to set up a credit account. If you're only filing accounts, you only need there's an option for an account without a fee. And that's all available on the Companies House website. At this stage, before I jump into a demo of the software, I'm going to hand over to Neil and Ryan.
And I had a brain dump. I realised what I had forgotten to do, which was share screen. And I'm here with my colleague Ryan, who's an accounts policy advisor. And we'll take the next part of this presentation. We welcome this opportunity to work with IRIS and of course are happy to work with others. You'll hear briefly from me. I'll tell you about some of the developments that we do and then the benefits of filing accounts online with us from our perspective. Then I'll hand over to Ryan for some more in-depth information about e-accounts filing and our plans for the future. Well, hopefully none of you were ever like this first image, but the second image is far more indicative of accounts filing now. You may be interested to know that we're approaching a figure of 90% of all filings with us being made online. That, of course, includes everything from incorporations through changes of officer details, changes of registered office to accounts, the accounts figure being around 80%. So on to accounts and what's been happening here at Companies House. and what we plan for the future as we work towards our objective of 99% e-enablement of accounts. But before that, and before I hand over to Ryan, I'll let you know what we do before new accounts types are rolled out and reflect on the many benefits of electronically filed accounts. Before we roll out any new form of accounts, whether it be software or web, great care is taken to ensure that what has been produced is suitable and is appropriate. We first of all identify where the greatest need lies, whether that be from the point of view of legislative change or user requirements and demand. Our account specialists in our policy team work on the practical implications of how accounts types will be rolled out and work very closely with our IT development team. They analyse the various aspects of the accounts types and work through the practicalities. Once we've done that and done development work, we then send the technical interface specification, or TIS as we know it, to software providers. Their developers test with us, and when they first develop or when they make changes to their software using the information contained in our specification. We also assist when they have test failures and will only allow live filings when satisfied that the development fully meets our requirements. Every software supplier authorized to file to the live environment is regularly contacted with details of further form enablements, legislative-based software changes, and other information of relevance. In addition, a revised specification is sent out to each supplier as and when changes deem it necessary. With our web options, we do user research and spend a lot of time and effort identifying and understanding our users. To ensure our services are accessible to all, research is then undertaken with a wide range of people with varying digital skills, and the feedback received from the research allows us to develop and improve our services. Well, now on to the benefit of filing accounts online, which Alex has admirably covered. She's done it extremely well, but I thought I'd talk a little bit more about it from the company's house perspective. The difference in rejection rates between electronically filed and paper filed accounts is really significant. These percentages do vary from month to month, but the gap between them is pretty consistent. Rejection reasons for paper include lack of signatures and/or names, incorrect company names. We are very careful what we accept in terms of company names, and the name must be as shown on the public record, as otherwise the accounts will be rejected. Things such as abbreviations of the correct name, the commonly used version of the name rather than the actual name, are things that we encounter. Pages missing, incorrect made-up date, and that's something that can be so easily checked by a quick visit to our website, and also, maybe surprisingly, incorrect accounts types. At peak filing times, such as the end of September and the end of December, paper-filed accounts can take up to 10 days and sometimes more from receipt to becoming available on the public record. That is in spite of considerable effort on our part to ensure as prompt processing as possible. And we know that causes concern when there's doubt as to whether the accounts have been received safely and are acceptable for filing. If they are rejected and the replacements miss the filing deadline, late filing penalties will be imposed. We do, of course, urge anyone sending accounts to us, whatever the method, to ensure that they're sent well within the filing deadlines and not to leave it until the very last minute. And it is much more reassuring to know that accounts have been received and accepted by email acknowledgement. Worth mentioning that our email reminder service is a very valuable tool, as email reminders can be sent to up to 4 different email addresses. Far better than paper reminders, which are only sent to the registered office. And when you think about it, when did you last receive a paper reminder about something? Electronic submission also ensures security of transmission. And before I leave the subject of rejections, it's probably worth mentioning that though most people use software to produce and submit accounts to us, some still produce accounts using software, then print them out, and then send them to us on paper. This can lead to rejection, as the validation processes are different, with the inbuilt validation in the software submission differing from paper examination. Well, save money by online submission and avoid postage costs and uncertainty. The inbuilt validation in software prevents a number of basic errors, and therefore fewer defective sets of accounts are produced. Online submissions go a long way to preventing basic errors. You'll not be surprised to know that the accountancy bodies support our approach and are very encouraging of the move towards 99% enablement. And the professional bodies are working with us to expound the benefits of electronic submission of accounts. Signatures have often been regarded as a problem because they, of course, become publicly available. And many people naturally prefer to keep their signatures out of the public domain, and that's both directors and the accountants. And finally, the use of IXBRL enables search facilities to be used more effectively by searchers through data analysis, and that's to the benefit of all business. So, that's the end of my short piece. I'll now pass over to Ryan, who will talk about online filing options with us.
Hi, I'm Ryan, and I'm going to talk about online filing options for small companies. Of course, Companies House isn't able to give guidance on the content of accounts, although we are often asked for it. Here you can see the options available and the relevant thresholds. I will talk through each of them quickly for you. To qualify as a micro-entity, a company must have a turnover of no more than 632,000, a balance sheet total of no more than 316,000, and an average number of employees of no more than 10. Whereas small companies must not have a turnover of more than 10.2 million, a balance sheet total of no more than 5.1 million, and an average number of employees of no more than 50. Small companies may opt to file abridged accounts. Company Accounts and Tax Online, which we refer to as CATO, is a joint filing system. Now, that's a mechanism that is probably outside the scope of this webinar, but it is another method that we use to receive accounts, joint initiative between us and HMRC. But I will point out that that's probably not the best fit for software customers. And, of course, dormant company accounts can also be filed with us. That's for companies that have had no change in their position since the previous period, or in fact have never traded. Most accounting software packages will include functionality to file your accounts dormantly. Small companies that want to electronically file abridged accounts have three options. Software, and that's what we're focusing on today. But as mentioned on the previous slide, Companies House does offer its own services as well, which are often used by smaller entities in many cases. And those are CHS and the HMRC Joint Filing Service. Micros are also able to file their accounts via software and these methods as well. The accounts guidance on our website will give you more information. Now we're in the middle of the process of enablement to ensure that pretty much all accounts types can be filed with us electronically. Here you can see a table that we've put together with the guidance of colleagues in our development team. This clearly sets out the different types of accounts that can be filed with us and the channels through which they are filed. For those of you who use software, which is the majority of filers, it is sensible to ensure that you have the latest updates from your providers. In some cases, people are unaware of what can be filed with us, as they've not had the latest software updates. This table shows things as they are at the moment, but it is constantly changing as we make enhancements to what we are able to provide. We've now rolled out British accounts, and these are available for filing via software. Other recent changes are to enable charitable companies to file via software as well. Again, as I just mentioned, we have enabled a number of things recently, and going forward, we're looking to enable the ability of community interest companies to file electronically, and we're doing some further web development for small full accounts. I hope that you found this to be a useful update, but I always recommend that you keep a regular watch on our pages of the gov.uk website for future changes and developments. Thank you for listening to us both, and I will now hand back to Alex.
Okay, so back to my screen, and I'll be able to give you a demo of Iris Accounts Production. Just waiting for Neil to pass the presenter rights back to me. That's it. Okay. So, where I left off, I was explaining that to start using electronic filings through accounts production and through software, you need to first apply for that presenter account with Companies House. Once you've received that information, you'll get a presenter reference with a presenter authentication. That's as such your password as the practice. And you need to enter that into the setup options. Under setup, you've got practice options. You simply enter the details and click save. And then for each and every company or LLP that you want to file electronically, you need to just enter the company authentication code. That can be found under edit. And as such, that's the password for the company to say you've got permission for submitting their accounts. That will also work in Company Secretarial if you're submitting forms. So let's have a look at accounts production. It's fairly simple. Once you've entered in your trial balance or entered in your figures and you're fairly happy with all the disclosure you're getting in the accounts, exactly the same as you would if you were preparing to submit via paper, when you go to reports, you can go to Reports and Annual, and you select IXBRL. This is the same as if you were producing the accounts for HMRC to submit with the CT600. Then you select the report that you're going to be generating, so you could be generating the full LTD report, but more likely for Companies House, you might just be doing the finited accounts. So you can see I've typed in ABR and I've ticked to copy, for the copy to be filed at Companies House. So I click OK, and then I use my mouse, click OK, and the report will be generated. You just see in the corner there that they're whizzing away, generating just as they would if they were paper accounts. At this point, the system's doing any validation checks. It's checking that things like your directors have been selected to sign the balance sheet, that you've entered the date of signing, just checking if, anything that would cause a rejection. So making sure that when you do submit them, they won't be rejected by Companies House. So hopefully they'll be accepted first time. Okay, so that's just generating on screen. Yeah. Okay, so set of accounts as you'd recognise them. You can also click on the iXBRL preview. This is the format that you'll see once those accounts have been submitted to Companies House and accepted. This is what the public will be able to see if they look at this company. You can scroll through that, change any tagging if you feel it's wrong, or you can simply go for validating. So this is validating all the tags behind the scenes, making sure that there aren't any problems, that the numbers add up, and that the tags have been used appropriately. And once you've done that, you can finalise this and you're ready to create the submission for Companies House. You can submit now, or if you'd rather, you could submit later. So if you've got a batch of accounts or perhaps a partner of the practice rather than just the junior is going to submit them, you can select submit later. I'm going to submit now, and that's just being submitted. You can see it generating the report, and then it's going to talk to Companies House. So this is the equivalent of walking to the post box. So there you are. My accounts have been transmitted successfully, and then I'll be able to see at a later point, perhaps in 5–10 minutes time, that they've been accepted or rejected. Or I can just generally have a look in the morning, make sure my accounts have gone through okay. So that's a very simple demo of how you submit the accounts in accounts production. What I'd also like to point you to, because it is a very quick demo, if you'd like some further information about submitting accounts electronically using accounts production, we do have the Open Learning System. This is free for you to use, and we've been adding lots of content specifically around the new release, but electronic filing of charity accounts is available there, which will talk you through step by step. So that brings me to the end of my webinar. I'd like to thank Neil and Ryan for joining us today. Very useful information, and to find out all about how Companies House see this and how things are progressing. If you have any queries regarding what I've discussed today, you can email me at productmanagers@iris.co.uk. Thank you very much.